This is part 2 of Luciferian philosophy and basic foundations and practice in daily life. So our previous video, part 1, I really covered some basic key points centered around the 11 Luciferian points of power and how those can be consistently applied towards creating a perception, a mental foundation for propagating that type of change, that evolution. We call that liberation, illumination, apotheosis. Liberation is a key beginning point because you're breaking or first recognizing restrictive beliefs and then slowly breaking those chains that have caused perhaps unnoticed oppression in life. Everyone has them, but how significant they are is what determines what you're going to do with the identification of what you consider issues. So, really with Luciferian philosophy, first thing in daily life, you have to examine your concepts and your belief structure. Just getting some of my books, saying you apply the 11 points, etc., identifying as a Luciferian, without the magical aspect, just the philosophy. Many new Luciferians are going to have already a connection to many of those points, the basic foundation of the philosophy. But to evolve, to become, to start the path of applying Luciferian philosophy for goals, towards your goals, you have to first examine your core beliefs. Things that you do every day, things that you think every day that are centered around good and evil, right and wrong. Think about that. In daily life, how many times do you overhear someone say something like, that's good or that's evil, or you watch a movie, what do you identify with? Do you identify with the so-called good forces or the evil forces? You see, it's a matter of perspective in Luciferianism. I have always been drawn to the adversary because it gives strength for me from a child throughout my life. The symbol of the adversary, the spirit of the adversary, to go even further, is a motivational, internal and external force, power, that, although embraces a primal predatory darkness, it inspires evolution, self-mastery. Those things are very important, self-mastery. Examine your concepts. What is good and evil to you? Is it a moral thing? Is it a hang-up from how you were brought up? You have to explore these things, because if you don't, that dualistic, monotheistic kind of seeds that were put in most people's brains from children on in the programming of life that'll stay with you. And you'll have conflicts about the symbol of the adversary and the Luciferian spirit, and your magical workings won't be as significant. And somewhere along the line, when the going gets tough, you'll fall from the path, either by your own boredom, disillusionment, or pressure from girlfriend, wife, significant other, family, etc., who aren't going to understand Luciferianism unless they think like we do. Understanding and recognizing definitions is a key thing in Luciferianism. So let's talk about definitions. Today, light and darkness means what to you? You know, the majority of people will consider darkness to be negative, evil, and light to be goodness, creative, positive, good and evil type things. Now what's dark? Aggressive imagery, demons, monsters, conquerors, in many cases warriors, people who go against the concepts of popular morality. Traditional concepts of darkness and light, good and evil, are impressed upon people from the lens of monotheistic, dualistic religion, Christianity, Islam, etc. Any monotheistic religion. Even to some extent, areas of Buddhist right-hand path teachings. What Luciferianism, in a modern sense, does is it goes back to the pre-Christian, so the ancient so-called pagan religions, beliefs, magical practices. What are the traits of those cultures before Christianity and some monotheistic religions? What was the essence? What traits, what concepts were upheld? So if you have the Hellenistic or Greco-Roman traits of the culture from Macedonia, from all the different types to Roman, Republican to imperial period, you have the individual who seeks to attain a strong and good lasting name for himself or herself by their talents, by their philosophical skill, by their arts, by their whatever their talents are, as conquerors, as ambitious people. Of course, the normal masses were in many ways downtrodden, and it took certain ones to elevate themselves, and then within the class of the nobility to then raise themselves further. But it's all on the individual. The hero traits, that's why deified heroes in the ancient world are respected and incense is offered as the idea of cultural potential and self-excellence for those who try. So for a Luciferian, concepts, we don't approach feelings of regret, guilt, feeling bad, for certain situations. Here's an example. As a member of my community, I, from early childhood, was taught manners, how to interact with people, etiquette. And I had a kind of introspective talent to being able to speak to different types or groups, social groups, in a way that I could more or less get my point across or connect for whatever goal I had. That's important in dealing with others. Now, when it comes down to concepts of dealing with people in my community, if I see somebody who needs some assistance, I'm going to assist them because it makes me feel good. I would like the common courtesy if the tables were turned that was done for me. So I'm selfish, but I don't let my selfish, as all humans are. All humans are selfish and narcissistic inherently. Even for charity work, even for, I'm selfless and doing this for people, that I dedicate my life to that. I'm selfless. No one does anything because they are truly selfless. You get a reward from it in your brain, in the back of your mind, for every good act or for those who value bad acts. Common courtesy, you make your community, if you can, a better place at your level of integration and operation. I'm mostly a very isolate loner type, but if I need to assist, I do. As a Luciferian, that's kind of a standard. You lead by example. You lead by example. You don't go arguing and pushing your views on everyone. You lead by example. You'd be amazed at how many people, when you have standards and a code that you validated and that you live by, you don't push it on others. And it's not religious in the sense of the book tells me to do this. Luciferianism provides an outline, but I have to validate it or it means absolutely nothing. You have to live that way. Be amazed at how many people see you do something consistently, or when the going gets tough, you see it through. You have a sense of balance. Some religious types look and say, are you Christian or something like that? And if the situation is appropriate for me and my goals, yeah, I'll say I'm Luciferian. This automatically creates that shock because you're breaking down their perceptions. You're stating their agenda of identification of good and evil. The adversary is a motivator, a challenger, one who overcomes. Our basis as Luciferians is from our primal core reptilian aspect, the primal instinct. Luciferianism is a Darwinian spirituality. We apply empathy to those we deem worthy. We can control how we use empathy rather than letting empathy take us on every whim of identification and sympathy to where you're a drained person. I pick and choose where I allow my feelings to identify. You have to control your empathy in that sense. And compassion, or unrestrained compassion for everything, weakens and disintegrates who we are. A good Luciferian, what I call good, is one who has developed a character, a sense of character, a strong foundation, identification of who he or she is, what they're willing to do, and what they're not willing to do. We have to have our own personal code. Now, morals, they don't exist. I don't identify with I'm aware that there are cultural moral standards in society, but I don't view it in the same way that Judeo-Christians would. As a Luciferian, a left-hand path, antinomian thinker, and one who has actualized and seized my opportunity in life, I have a code and my own sense of morals, standards of things that I find good and things that I find beneath contempt. And living that way, honestly, really takes away probably 90% of any remorse or guilty feelings you may have for things you've done. If you think before you speak and strategically act, not allowing impulse to always overtake you, and no one can do that all the time. Shit happens. Passion drives us and sometimes gets the better of us. We make mistakes, but if you intent with a sense of Luciferian will of discipline to think before you act, it saves you a lot of trouble later on. You as a leader have to lead by example. A good Luciferian also should spend very minimal time in directing energies towards hating others, cursing others, arguing, fighting with others, unless there's a strategic agenda or goal to attain there. Spend your energies shaping and creating and enhancing your insight, knowledge, power in your overall condition in life. One thing I'll say too, Luciferians are individuals who identify with the symbol as a philosophy of the adversary, of the light bringer, but also for some it's the adversary as Satan, the tempter, the strong, cunning, Darwinistic mind. You need to be a lady, or as a gentleman, you need to have manners, common courtesy, when appropriate. And if you act with strategic consideration, you're shaping yourself daily as a vessel, a manifestation of the adversary. That's liberation, illumination, and apotheosis in continual action. Good and evil, for a Luciferian, there's balance. Somebody who commits crimes, rapes, breaks society's common courtesy, if you will, things that we have to uphold in where we live. I don't consider that evil. I just consider it something that needs to be eradicated. Nature and the law of the Talon is primarily a basic foundation for Luciferian philosophy, as it reflects nature and the balance, the creative and destructive cycle, the balance in nature. Kill your monotheistic gods by knowing via experience that your thoughts, words, and actions create, diminish, maintain, or enhance, or destroy your world. Don't accept a belief, oh, I shouldn't think this way, or, I have an enemy and I hurt my enemy. My rival, I really tore down my rival. I out thought and strategically acted to where they look less and are beaten by my works. I've achieved, I've conquered. Many, oh, I feel bad. They're just trying to do that too. No, that type of feeling is something that a monotheistic religion has imposed upon us. Don't hurt others for pleasure or simply to do, or if somebody just, it has to be an appropriate response to something, the interaction. But if you're in competition, then win. And then when you win, feel great about it. And in a quiet way, no one likes a bragging, overblown personality. They're assholes. But in your own internal way, celebrate that victory. Hail Lucifer. Hail the adversary. Remember, you have to have that mask, depending on what your goals are in society, in your community. You don't have to go around wearing black and Baphomet's, Infernal Union symbols, Lucifer symbols. You can wear a bright blue, and you can wear anything you want. You can look any way you want to strategically attain what you need in life. I do it my way, you'll do it your way. That is Luciferian philosophy in daily practice. Think about that. And once you master those things, the 11 points, once it's creating that change and you're validating it, then open those gates to the Luciferian magical paths. All of those works that I've explored over the years, validated, have amassed great experiences and results that guides the communion with my daemon. All of that will open up depending on your approach and your way of thinking. That is the next step. But the philosophy and general daily living as an intelligent, rational person is paramount.